One or two. Hello and welcome to Sports Tonight. I'm Cecilia Omogbe. And of course, on the show tonight, we'll be talking about Nigeria Women's Football League Premiership games decided today, and also the media briefing that CAF President Patrice Motsepe heard earlier today. And so it's all about the fact that an African country had the opportunity to actually win the World Cup with the performance of Morocco and also the likes of Cameroon, Ghana, and even Tunisia. They have the potential to actually win it simply because of their performance at the World Cup. That's coming from CAF President Patrice Motsepe. We'll be playing the interview for you later on the program. And also, we'll talk about boxing, where Tyson Fury and Oleksandr Usyk, they've agreed that early next year, they will be fighting. And before that, there will be no fight. That's the only bout they will be preparing for. That's according to his promoter, Bob Arum. And also, we'll talk about what Pep Guardiola has been talking about today, the fact that even without Lionel Messi winning the World Cup, he is still the greatest of all time. That's according to him. People have different opinions. People support Pele, Maradona, but for him, he says Messi is the greatest, with or without winning the World Cup. First, we start off with boxing, what's currently going on in the world of boxing. But I'll not be doing all the talking alone. In the next 20 minutes we have on the program, Favor Itwa will be joining me from Port Harcourt. He works with Wazobia FM in the city of Port Harcourt in Rivers State. He will be joining me for most of the analysis on tonight's show. But first, let's quickly start off with boxing, where Bob Arum, that's Tyson Fury's promoter, has said that, well, this bout is definitely possible early next year. There is no date yet. There is no venue. They're thinking of using either UK or even UAE, because according to him, he said he's getting significant offers from the Middle East to host the fight there, and also possibility of it being held in the United Kingdom. But the exact date, location for unification bout is not known. But then Bob Arum says that both fighters have agreed that they will be fighting next year. And before that, there will be no other fight in between. So the talk of Tyson, Anthony Joshua is not coming up at all, because right now they will be fully focusing on this one. So they've agreed to actually fight. That's undisputed heavyweight world championship. We'll see what's going to happen in that one, because Tyson Fury actually challenged the Ukrainian, talking about Usyk. He owns the WBA, IBF, WBO, and IBO. He is a champion after beating Anthony Joshua. He got all the 4 belts. And for Tyson Fury, he retained his WBC title. That's after the rematch he had with Derek Chisora. That's his compatriot. He's also a British. So after that particular bout, he retained WBO title. So they want to have these unification bouts to see who is the real world champion. So early next year, we might just be seeing this fight happening. That's according to Bob Arum, who happens to be the promoter of Tyson Fury. All right, to move away from that and quickly go to this big one, which is Pep Guardiola saying that with or without winning the World Cup, Lionel Messi, according to him, he is, of course, the greatest of all time. I don't know if you agree with him, but Pep Guardiola, of course, you know how he coached Lionel Messi. He literally brought him up from the Barcelona B to the senior team. Messi, now 35 years old. I mean, at the time, I mean, he won so many trophies during his time at Barcelona. He's now at PSG, but then he won the World Cup just last week, just on Sunday here, after 5 attempts. The 5th attempt, he was able to win the FIFA World Cup. So according to Pep Guardiola, he said there's no doubt that Messi is the greatest player of all time, that his opinion would not even change, even if he did not win the World Cup. Let's listen to him.
Nobody can doubt that he is there with the greatest all the time. For me, I said many times, I've been is the best. It will be difficult to understand a player can appear and compete what he has done in the last 50, 70 years. But the people who saw Pelé, for example, or Di Stefano, or you know, Maradona, well, I don't know, I saw him, but the people can say my favorite, because also in this opinion there are sentimental, you know, approach. But on the other side, if he would not have won the World Cup, the opinion about what he has done for the world football, in my opinion, personal opinion, that how he's a player would not change absolutely anything. But it's normal that the people, it depends on who win. You are evaluated, and of course for him is the final, cherries of his incredible career.
Well, that's according to Pep Guardiola. I mean, no doubt, because he literally brought Lionel Messi up. Because I remember when he gave him the time, the likes of Ronaldinho, all of them in the score, but Messi was able to burst into the scene. And of course, we were watching one of the greatest of all time. Well, arguably. But then, I mean, he's got his legacy. But Favorito will be joining me, and I will be throwing that question to him quickly, because there's so many people in that category. But I don't know what he thinks about this, with or without the World Cup, if Lionel Messi is really the greatest of all time. Favor, good evening. How are you doing?
Hello, Cecilia. Good evening. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you. Now, a quick one on what Pep Guardiola just said, that Lionel Messi, with or without winning with the World Cup, for him, he's the greatest of all time. What do you think?
Well, I'm not surprised that Pep Guardiola said that. Of course, we know how he grew through the ranks. Since he took over from Frank Rijkaard at Barca, we saw how Messi also, got to the peak of his career at that point. He won the Champions League under Pep Guardiola. And a lot of managers who have managed Messi has also seen him as someone who is instrumental, one who is a figure that would always strive for success. I also would agree with him as some, to say that, yes, if Messi did not win the World Cup, would still say, yes, the greatest of all time. He's someone who, no doubt, has shown to the world that he's one who you can rely on, one who can carry the team on his shoulders. We saw what happened at the Copa America. After so many times of trying, he won the Copa America with Argentina, the Finalissima against Italy, and now the World Cup final, he has also won that. So I don't think we should be arguing about who is better between who Messi, Ronaldo, or who, of course, Messi is. Messi does not have anything to prove again to anybody. He has shown that he's got the scoring form. He has shown that he can actually lead the team. He has shown that also he might not even have to be, the number 9 in the team. He could also be the engine room in the team. So I think for Pep Guardiola, he's just, telling us more about what he has seen so far as a manager who has managed Messi for years at Barca.
Interesting. All right, let's leave Messi and quickly touch down on this one, talking about the Carabao Cup. The 5th round is currently going on. Man United and, of course, Burnley are in action right now. And tomorrow, Liverpool and Manchester City will be in action, and Pep Guardiola has been talking about this. That's the game, Manchester City and Liverpool. Away travels have been good for Liverpool so far in their last 4 or 5 games, but then Manchester City, after losing to Brentford before the World Cup started, they will try as much as possible to bounce back. But Pep has also been talking about this game, saying 16 players at the World Cup, they are returning slowly to the club, but they may not be playing. But those guys who have been around, I mean, the ones who went to the World Cup are even in a better condition than those who've been around. The likes of Erling Haaland, I mean, someone who has scored 23 goals in 18 matches so far. That's incredible. But he's been training with the team. But the likes of Manu Akonji, the likes of Sergio Gomez, Erling Haaland, of course, Riyad Mahrez, Cole Palmer, these guys, according to him, he said they're actually missing the rhythm. Let's listen to him as they prepare to face Liverpool in the Carabao Cup on Thursday night.
I had the feeling that the players were in the World Cup, they are in better condition than the players that were here. That's for sure. So Sergio, Erling, Riyad, Cole, they are a little bit, the rhythm, they miss a little bit, comparing that, for example, Manu, Akanji and Rodri and Jaime and Nathan, they come back, we saw them so good perfectly. That's normal. So they compete, they train every day, and we had holidays. So, but that's why tomorrow is important for the, from keep the rhythm, and for the players who are not in the World Cup to gain the rhythm, because like we don't have 1 month off or 2-3 weeks to prepare all the team, so we have to do it what we have.
Interesting one. Favor, for you, I mean, if you check the last 5 games Liverpool and Man City have played, I mean, Liverpool got the upper hand, so you think it's going to have 6 unbeaten against them. Remember what happened at Community Shield, 3-1, and of course the League Cup last year, and this year it has not been favorable for Manchester City whenever they're playing at Liverpool, and this is League Cup, of course. He would definitely want to take another one off Pep Guardiola.
Well, I would say that for me, I think this is not the best time for Liverpool to face City. Considering the fact that during the games they played during the preseason, during the World Cup break, you saw how they struggled, even against Arsenal. They were not the best of form. With the best of what we've seen for Liverpool. And don't forget, before the World Cup, we saw how Liverpool have been struggling, to grind out results before the World Cup. Also, some of their players were at the World Cup, Darwin Núñez and some of them were likes. But I think for City, yes, they have some players that they had some players who played at the World Cup. But for someone like Erling Braut Haaland, you'll be really eager to come in tomorrow to show that, yes, he has had enough press to continue banging in the goals. Yeah, we'll not definitely want to take anything away from these two sides. But then I think City has the upper hand here because of how well, their talisman, talking about Braut Haaland, has rested, the period of the World Cup. And also some players in the team who are coming in a better form. Talking about Nathan Ake, it was fantastic for the Orange Boys. I think they have more players who have been really competitive in as much as, yes, other players in Liverpool side were part of the World Cup. But I think for City, you want to continue from where they stop in the league.
All right. Hope they can actually do that. Okay, let's talk about this big one that we want to address now. Well, first of all, listen to him first before you react to it. It happens to be the media briefing that was held earlier today by CAF President Patrice Motsepe, where he feels that an African country is closer for an African country to really win the World Cup. Let's take a listen to him.
Our objective of an African nation winning the FIFA World Cup is alive and within reach. Definitely within reach. And then the CAF stated today that Africa is inspired by the performances of the African teams, African nations that participated in the FIFA World Cup in Qatar, as I've said previously. And CAF is particularly excited by the historic victories of Morocco and his qualifications for the semi-finals of the FIFA World Cup Qatar, as well as the impressive performances of Senegal, Cameroon, Tunisia and Ghana. I was told that the coach of the technical team was the coach of Wydad a few months before. And what makes me proud is he's one of our own from the continent. And what he does is to give not just hope, but inspiration to every single coach in Africa, technical advisor, people who are trainer, that we can compete on the African continent at the highest level and succeed. Every one of the countries that have won the AFCON, including the rest of the 54, should see themselves as being capable of going to the final of the FIFA World Cup. And when you're in the final, anything is possible.
All right, that's Patrice Motsepe, CAF president, talking about the fact that it's possible for an African country to win the World Cup because of the performance shown by Morocco, coached by, of course, a coach from Morocco. I mean, homegrown talent, according to him, and also performances from Cameroon, Ghana, Tunisia. These teams have been fought against European nations. For Cameroon being able to beat Brazil, Morocco, of course, Belgium, Spain, Portugal, they will tell the story of how they were stopped by a country from Africa, Morocco. So because of that, Motsepe is really confident that, yes, it is possible for an African country to win the World Cup. And people have been talking about maybe in 2026 it's actually possible for us to do that. But once a favor join me, I'm going to ask him that question, if it's possible for an African country. And I love the fact that he mentioned of all the 54 countries we have in Africa, at least all the teams that have won the Nations Cup, it's possible. So that includes Nigeria. Yes, Nigeria may not have qualified for the World Cup in Qatar. Of course, with 9 slots in 2026 and the possibility of having 10 slots, Super Eagles will obviously be in the USA, Mexico, and of course Canada, because that's where the next World Cup will be held. And with the confidence going into it, and the press conference on that today was more about how, investing in infrastructure and how some governments can actually embrace what Morocco have done, what they've done with infrastructure, what they've done with their clubs. If they can actually imbibe that, replicate it across Africa, obviously we'll have good football, and of course development will be key. Once you invest in infrastructure, of course, you have the players, you have everyone, because if you go to Morocco right now, you see, players everywhere. I mean, from the from the kids, the teenagers, adults, they all have different academies where they play. And of course, the government had to drive that. That's the changes that's currently going on in Morocco. And that's the reason they're succeeding. We've seen what they've been able to do. Hopefully, across Africa, such will be replicated where they have good pitches and, of course, good coaches. And, of course, players' welfare will also be key in that one. Before we wrap up the show, we'll just quickly touch down on Nigeria's Women's Football League Premiership match day 4 today. Of course, we have away victories, unlike match day 1 where we're actually using touch to look for it. But today we have most away victory because the game between Bayelsa Queens and, of course, Royal Queens ended 2-0 in favor of the away teams, Mary Adereme, and, of course, Floris Sebastian were the ones who scored the goals for Bayelsa Queens. The games between Ocean Babes and Delta Queens, also another away victory. Delta Queens, of course, it was a wonderful one from them. Having Effiong Ekpenyong, 3 minutes just into the game, she was able to score. Chinaza also scoring, but Ebere Chukwu Oleka, 51 minutes, trying to get back, wasn't enough. Of course, Delta Queens ran away with that victory. Rivers Angels and Niger Ratters, that was a close one. Agudze Juanita scored a 29th minute goal, and that was enough for Rivers Angels to get all 3 points by a lone goal. Confluence Queens and Abia Angels ended 1-1. Mary Okbara and Precious Obasi scoring for their teams. Edo Queens and Adamawa Queens ended 4-0. MMSN with Brazen. Gloria Osega, who came in as a substitute, was the one who scored the last goal in the 7th and 9th. And of course, FC Robo, they got away victory also against Ibom Angels, Sukurat Oladipo, and of course Folashade Jamilusi scoring a brace for the team for them to get that victory. Well, Favor just couldn't join me to wrap up the show. Well, thank you so much for being a part of it. I'm Cecilia Omogbe. Have a good night's rest.